Onside kicking it as always, man.
What up? What up?
What it do, sick as fool?
It's good. How you doing, man? Good to be back.
Man, we missed him. I don't know if you caught part of the last stream, but I'm about to show it to you after this, man. First things first, onside kicking it as always, Mondays and Thursdays, 3:30 Pacific Standard. We obviously are on a Monday today, so we are recapping what just took place in Week 15. A lot of great games. Bottom line, like and subscribe, and for the love of God, click the notifications. Make my life easier. I shoot all y'all a text message beforehand. If I miss you guys, I apologize. I try to get you guys done. But yeah, man, if you want to show love, hit the bell. Notifications on.
Yes, sir. And if you can, too, go to my page, @SickAsFool. I'm trying to build up my YouTube. Obviously, we're on this platform, but we're trying to build our individual channels as well, too. So if you can, like, subscribe, all that. But let's get right on into it. Week 15 recap. First week of fantasy playoffs.
My fault. Before we even get there, we're going to show love to the live chat, man. Shout out to L Train. He was the first to jump on today. We appreciate you, L Train. L Train, you got the notifications on, man, and I appreciate that, my guy. I really genuinely do. You should have hooked up with him in Vegas, man. He's in Vegas, so next time around, that's going to happen. Shout out to JoJo Love. Appreciate you, sis. Love you, girl. Where we at?
Hey, wait, Coach B, man, we got to give some love to Coach B.
Coach B and his bitch.
Coach
Surge.
How you feeling about that bet with the Steelers, huh? Or are they going to make it to 500
hey, listen,
or no?
Man, I spoke to him about it, man. We got 3 games left. We just need one more win to get to that 7. If you want to back out now, shoot me a text, man. I'll take the wager off.
Yeah, and need 20 points out of Akers tonight. Good luck, Sergio, but Baker Mayfield is not going to get it done. But we'll talk about that.
I will say there was actually a play where I wanted to use him as my flex. Because he's had a couple – no, Akers.
Oh, Akers.
Because he had a couple good games in a row, you know, that little Baker magic. It's not out of the question, man, but against the Packers it's going to be tough. I think the only way he gets there is with some receptions. And I do think that the Packers take a lead, which does mean Baker might have to do some checkdowns, especially considering 1 week later he can't know the offense that much more. So good luck to you, Serge. That won't affect me negatively if he goes off, but it will let me know if he's worthy of a start next week. So let's run it.
Let's go. And
recap, my fault. Go ahead.
Let's get into the game. So the first game was a Thursday night game, divisional game between the Niners and the Seahawks. The 49ers really impressed me on this one with their rookie quarterback and how good their defense actually is. So even though the game says it was close on paper, 21-13, I felt like it was a blowout. I want to really quick shout out my boy Soji, the OG. He's in. He's going Packers -7. Honestly, I like that bet. I just see it somehow being a close game between the Packers and the Rams because, like, there's so many ugly games, you know, just like Jacksonville and Dallas and Chiefs and Houston, and I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I see it being an ugly game, kind of like when they played, you know, the Lions, and it's like a, you know, low-scoring game, and if it is really low-scoring and Watson doesn't break off for, you know, 2 long touchdowns and there's no defensive scores, they might not cover the 7, although I'm pretty confident they're going to win just because they have an outside chance to make playoffs. So they're going to try to win these games, and obviously if they lose, it's going to be a huge disappointment, but I wouldn't be shocked if Rams backdoor cover somehow or, you know, something along the lines where a backdoor coverage. So 7, I'm not too sold, but yeah, I mean, if this was the Packers of last year or the last previous years, then I'd be all over them. But I think they've kind of shown this year that they're not the same Packers that they used to be, and Rodgers is not, you know, the same Rodgers.
I mean, it's tough to call. 7 points is definitely a lot. Coach said I should just pay now, huh? Yeah, that's 7 games to win for the Steelers, just so y'all tuning in. I got the Steelers to win 7 games against Coach B Stocks, a.k.a. the Doc. And it's looking pretty decent with our 6th win, man. So we'll see, man. Hey, Raiders, Browns, and Ravens, man. That's 3 games, and I think we can win 2 of them and maybe get in the playoffs if we win all 3. So might have to pay now, Coach.
Okay, and let's just get back into the games. But, chat, if you have any questions, obviously shout us out. We'd love to answer your questions.
Yes, sir.
So a couple things before I get into the game. So we're at Week 15 in fantasy playoffs. We know who we're starting. We know who our big dogs are. So, you know, for example, in this game, Christian McCaffrey went off. But we don't need to talk about him much because if you have McCaffrey in your lineup, you're going to start him, right? So McCaffrey had a game for himself. He had, let me see his stat line. He had 26 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown, 6 additional catches for 30 yards. Baller. Ayuk losing a little value, doesn't have that same connection. I thought Ayuk's value skyrocketed a lot when Garoppolo was in the lineup. I'm not really sure if I could confidently roll him out there with Brock Purdy. With Debo being out, they're saying 3 weeks-ish. I would start him if you have to. You need some WR help, so he's definitely a good player to stream out there. And then I think this is a good uptick for George Kittle. A lot of upside, balled out himself this last game. He went 4 for 93 and 2 touchdowns. That's good to see from Kittle, who's been mostly playing as a blocker and a scheme player. So hopefully that opens up his game a little bit more. But I think McCaffrey, you got to start him. Kittle, you got to start him. Ayuk, if you have to. And then on the Seahawks side, Geno Smith, 31 for 44, 238 and a touchdown. It was nice to see Kenneth Walker back from injury, although he had a little bit of a game. I don't know if he was limited on his carries or his touches. He had 12 carries for 47. I think a lot of it was game script, game flow. I mean, San Francisco's run defense is top tier, best defense in the league. So that makes sense. Unfortunate injury to Tyler Lockett. He had 7 catches for 68 yards, which I think is going to give an uptick to DK Metcalf, who had 7 catches for 55 yards. And, yeah, I think you're starting Kenneth Walker. You're starting DK. And that's about it. What's your thoughts on the game? And
this game went low-key exactly how I thought it would. On my shorts on YouTube, I had the 7.5-point team under for the Seahawks. I felt like they were going to get off to a slow start. Also on the channel, I did say that I think it'll be closer than people expect, considering the Niners have been blowing teams out like the Bucks and like the Dolphins, of course. So it kind of went exactly as I thought it would. Definitely without Debo. I mentioned that I had a prop bet for Kittle to score a touchdown. He didn't do a touchdown, unfortunately. He ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. Awesome for me. I got him in my fantasy lineup moving forward, of course, as well as prior to that game. So that game, nothing really stood out to me in particular, except for the simple fact that Brock Purdy has been playing very good football. Even losing, Debo, they decided that they can still make things happen. And I think this is a testament of coaching. Shanahan's a great coach, and he knows how to get everyone involved. And I think without Debo, it doesn't really affect them too much because they still have so many studs on all aspects. So game went as planned for me, man.
I just think when your defense is that good, you're always going to be in the game. So
I agree.
All right, moving
Real
on.
Quick, we got a message from Blurpy. I have Hurts, so I'm looking for a QB. Who should I pick off waivers? Rodgers at Miami, Goff at Carolina, Purdy at Washington, Mike White or Wilson at Jacksonville, or Minshew at Dallas. So I'll answer this for you real quick, man. I have Hurts in both of my leagues. I'm definitely a little nervous. I got Dak Prescott on a trade. I traded DK Metcalf for Dak Prescott the week Hurts had a bye week, so I feel a little bit okay in that particular league. Still got some work to do. I got to beat AJ tonight. I got Aaron Jones and Mason
He's looking
Crosby
good. He's favored to win.
down about 14 points, but I need those two to put up 15 so I can even be excited about this next week matchup. To answer your question from a fantasy perspective, it's extremely risky to play Purdy. However, especially against the Washington Commanders defense, which is fairly good. However, they do have a lot of, like we were talking about it, they got a really good defense, so there's a very good chance that they get put in really good positions by causing turnovers from Heineke himself. So I like that pick, to be quite honest with you. Depending on how Rodgers plays tonight, though, if he balls out after the bye week and they're still in playoff contention, I 100% would feel a lot more comfortable playing Rodgers against Miami, who's been subjectable to put up some points. As you all saw, Josh Allen had 4 touchdowns last week. I would prefer to play a known vet like Rodgers over a player like Purdy in particular. What are you feeling?
So I agree with you on a couple things. It's between, for me, Rodgers at Miami. I agree with you. It's going to depend on how this game goes, how they look, and if they have a chance for a playoff spot. And then I think that will ultimately lead to a shootout in Miami, possibly. Again, Purdy. And then it goes between Purdy and low-key, I like Goff a lot. I think if you're looking for upside, you want to go Goff. I'm not really too worried about the Carolina defense. I would like to check weather conditions and make sure it's not cold and snowy. But if we got sunny skies and in Carolina, I would like Goff as an upside play. And then I think Purdy, like you said, will have a little floor just because they'll have opportunities to score. they might just give the ball to McCaffrey and just run it. So you might have
I feel
missing
like
that upside,
I was thinking
you know?
that too, but I was thinking also, look, you gotta get him in position to pass, and the last thing you want to do is run McCaffrey till the wheels fall off before the postseason. And with their defense putting him in decent situations, I think he gets more opportunities in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to
You know what I
be,
mean?
yeah, I agree with that. But I think, like I said, he's going to be more of a game manager right now. So just that upside. But he's scoring like his 18 to 25 points a game.
Yeah,
So that's why it's like
score's
he
been
should
phenomenal.
score once or twice, maybe have that long play, you know, because all of their schemes run off of other plays. So they're doing
Exactly.
running, boom, play action. You know, it's just a little bit harder. And Goff is bad on the road, but the Lions are trying to make the playoffs right now, and they're getting better and better. So his home road slips are a real thing. But like I said, I'm not really scared of Carolina's
What it
defense.
do, Boris? What it do, my guy?
What's up?
Nice
What's
to
up?
see you in here, man.
All right, so we have the Saturday game, which I actually really like, is having 3 games on Saturday. So we get more football, more things to watch during the week. Crazy game. It was, 33-0 at halftime?
Yeah.
And then
Colts
the
versus
Colts.
the Vikings.
Yeah, Colts versus Vikings. Vikings won 39-36. Real quick, we'll just talk about the Vikings for a second, just because of what I said. Last thing. If you got Justin Jefferson, you're going to start the guy. 12 receptions, 123, touchdown. If you got Dalvin Cook, 17 carries for 95 yards, also 4 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown, you're going to start him. Hawkinson, you're going to start him, you know. And then Thielen is kind of where that Ayuk range is. Like, if you need that WR2/flex play, then, yeah, you can slot him in. But there's not too much to talk about on their side. On the Colts side, another injury to Jonathan Taylor, ankle injury, what he hurt earlier. So I think this is something that we need to focus on, is how is the backfield going to be split up between Zach Moss and Deion Jackson. Zach Moss got 24 carries for 81 yards, and Deion Jackson had 13 carries for 55. But Deion Jackson, I think, is going to be utilized in the pass game a little bit more. I think Moss is going to be the rusher, you know, early down goal line back.
I think Zach can also catch, so I think he's going to outsnap Jackson significantly, which hence the 24 carries. I think that was also game script with them being up so many points that it was more common for him to get those carries. But Colts are officially knocked out of postseason with that loss. I'm be honest with you, if you're desperate at running back, like you lost JT and you didn't have Deion Jackson already, then yeah, I'm actually going more with who's getting more snap count. So I would prefer to lean on Moss. I think he is looking for that opportunity as a Bills. He never really got that opportunity because Josh Allen and the Bills just pass it all day, every day. They bring in Cook pedigree from Dalvin Cook's little brother. Plus, of course, Singletary had a phenomenal year. They brought in Hines. They wanted a better pass catcher, and they shipped off Zach. But I think Zach is capable. He's had some explosive games last year, and I think ultimately that's who I would trust in the backfield if I'm desperate.
Yeah, and also one thing to notice is the Colts are actually playing the Chargers next week, and the Chargers' run defense has been very vulnerable, especially with Bosa not being in that lineup in IR. So could be a good matchup for Zach to run the ball, especially in between the tackles. So, and then also one last player, Michael Pittman Jr. I think if you got him, you got to start him. 10 catches for 60 yards. You don't really like the yards, the air yards, the 6 yards per catch, but you got to like the volume, especially in the PPR league. You're like, all right, cool. But again, low upside because the Colts shouldn't be scoring that many points, even though they scored a lot in that game.
Let's talk about the game, though. I mean, this was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. So, first of all, I had Vikings money line, right? That's what I told you guys I was doing on my Thursday preview. That's what I took. Now, maybe first quarter's in, the score is 17-0. And I look at the live line, and it was plus 7.5. So I'm thinking, all right, Vikings can still lose by a touchdown and I win. So I fire hard on a live bet, plus 7.5. Next thing you know, it's 33-0. At this very moment, I'm not going to lie, I kind of chalked it up. But because it was the only game playing, I was like, all right, I'll tune in. Second half comes out. Bro, they end up giving up points again after scoring a touchdown. They end up giving up a field goal, and you're just like, damn, 36-7 even at this point, halfway through the third. But yet again, Vikings came back strong, and it was one of the most impressive comebacks in the NFL history. For starters, Matt Ryan has lost the Super Bowl 28-3, largest deficit ever. And now at this point, he's lost the largest comeback in NFL history. You got to think almost it's mental at this point. It's not just, of course, Matty Ice's fault, but you got to think it's almost mental at this point when the team around you knows, like, hey, this guy's lost a Super Bowl being up 28-3.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the drop off for quarterbacks is steep. You see them; they go from like good quarterbacks to just not good in like literally one season.
Literally
ones is like running backs and quarterbacks. They just fade off real quick. So let's move on to the next game. That was entertaining. Well, that game was entertaining. This game was not.
Most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
Ravens went to the Browns. The Browns won 13-3. I'm really disappointed in the Ravens offense. Obviously, they have the backup quarterback, Snoop Hundley, so you can't put too much emphasis on the Ravens, but it's been like this all year. So I'm not going to just sit there and say, oh, this was 1 week because this was the quarterback. J.K. Dobbins looking healthy, 13 carries for 125. You'd like to see that, especially he's been injured all year, 1 catch for 3 yards. Gus getting a little bit of work, 7 for 55, but J.K. Dobbins is definitely the guy you want to be owning in that backfield. Obviously, Mark Andrews, but with the production you've been getting this year, like, kind of sucks because you wanted
start, of course,
he's a must start, but like he hasn't performed all year.
Not only that, man, he actually had a first 6 weeks of the season. He was balling, bro. He was balling, and I sat here and I said, you know what? There is no fucking way that since week 6 he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 6. And you see, that's my AFC North division. This guy has dropped passes in the end zone just flat off his hands from when Lamar was throwing to him. And even last week, bro, at the first down line, catches it, gets hit from the back, and pops the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, I want to say,
just can't make some catches, man.
Sorry to cut you off. I just want to say what's up to Sean. Vegas was awesome, bro. It was just partying, having fun, gambling, little blackjack, I actually put a futures bet in. And I'll talk about that when the game comes. But
he says you sexy, but Nick got you beat. So Sean, you saying my wife is sexier than AJ?
I think that's
I don't
what
know
he's
how to feel about that, bro. Like, number one, he's calling you sexy.
I'll take the compliments, to be honest.
Number two, he's saying my wife is sexier though.
That's
it's all good. I got Jen's number on speed dial, bro. I'm gonna holler at her, see what I could work out.
Boom, boom. Yeah, but Vegas, it was fun, man, and it's time. I mean, I'll be honest. I would just play table games the whole weekend. Didn't even play any poker. I played one game, but
hey, coach is right, low key. The 3.5 points that the Colts got early on in the game still ended up printing, and that's exactly why I took money line. I hated that half a point, by the way. So that's the best thing about it when so many people can still win.
Yeah, the hook. So going back to this game, Cleveland and Baltimore, Deshaun Watson, 18 for 28, 161 and a touchdown. Also 6 rushes for 22 yards. Nick Chubb, obviously, 21 carries for 99 yards. You're going to start him. As far as the receiving core goes, I think Amari Cooper is the guy you want to own, but I think even with Watson back, they're kind of showing they're a low upside offense. They're not going to score too much. I actually like, even though Njoku didn't have the best game, he still had 6 targets, 3 catches for 28. With how thin the tight end position is, it's nice to see that he does have that connection with Watson, and he could be a high upside player in the playoffs moving forward. But
he has the worst floor of all time in tight end world, but he has honestly one of the biggest ceilings.
I mean, I feel like every tight end has that no floor, right?
Right, but his athleticism in the red zone and the catches that he makes, it's like holy cow. But yeah, to answer your question, tight end world is low.
That's where I'm at right now, man. I mean, actually, I don't even want to talk about your boy Frymuth, but
yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, next game, entertaining game.
Real quick, I want to talk about the Browns and Ravens. So last Thursday on the preview, you guys, make sure y'all tune in on these Thursdays. I told you guys that the Browns might f around and shut out the Ravens and that they would cover by 3, no problem. That game finished 13-3. I'm not here to brag and boast. I'm just here to remind you guys to tune in on Thursdays because your boy had one of those weeks yet again where I'm 15-1 if the Packers win tonight and I win my confidence pool. And we're going down these games. Your boy's called every one of them right so far. So tune in on Thursdays, man. Tune in. Hit that notification bell. Like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards.
And one thing I want to mention, too, from a betting perspective, this is one of the best times in the NFL to be betting because you know who's playing for what. So, for example, I don't like to play games where both teams have nothing to play for. It's really hard to pick who's going to be the team that's going to come out and ball. So when you have a team that's playing for something versus a team that's not playing for something, I think it's a little bit easier to take those money lines and find some good value on some teams that must win. So, anything on the Browns and Ravens before we move on?
No. That was
I
it.
know
I
that's
mean,
your
look, that was
division.
huge for us, obviously, because you have the Ravens who were tied with the Bengals atop division. I'm still having that hopeless side of a backdoor win the division, but with the Bengals coming back against the Bucks, which we'll get into, it's going to make it a little difficult. But again, wild card is wild card. We still have a matchup with the Ravens in Week 17, and I'm hoping that at that point in time, if we can get that win there, we can get that backdoor cover. But no, that's it. The game when it's playing, I also chose the under in that game. Told you guys about the under. Browns will win by more than 3 and might even be a fuck around and have a shutout. So just reminders.
Yeah. And I want to mention Gabe. He wants some lotto numbers. So I'm going to give him my favorite
Gabe?
numbers: 8, 10, 29, 15. Got him tatted on my leg. If you don't believe me. So if you want some numbers.
Show us. No, I'm playing.
No, let me put it up. Watch your face. Can I get this up here?
Now, mind you, he's never won the lotto with those numbers, guys. Full disclosure. But
They do really good
They
in
might
roulette.
win.
No, they do good in roulette. Roulette is where it's
I
at.
will tell you,
They're all black.
black 10,
Black 10, black 8, black
10,
15, black
red
29.
16.
So
Those
you already,
ones right there?
You already know. That's my shit. I hit all of those. And then I hit the black too. That's my
Gabe said perfect.
Yeah.
My man. Nice to see you on here, by the way, Gabe. Appreciate you, bro.
So Dolphins, Bills, fun, entertaining game. Snow. I think I was kind of thrown for a loop a little bit with the weather, but I'm glad that it got nasty at the end of the game. Because honestly, if they were talking about how much weather was going on, all the snow, and then there was actually no snow. Because when the game started, like before the game started, they were showing pictures and videos of the field, and it was like, wow, I was like, oh my god. And then game time starts, it's like, whoa, that's like they took
An average day in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like a good little field. So I'm like, I didn't start Tyler Bass thinking that like, oh, they're gonna have kicking woes and it's gonna be hard to do all this stuff. So it's just fun to watch football in those conditions. So when the flurries came in, it started snowing. It was a good game. From the Miami side, Raheem Mostert, 17 carries for 136. Jalen Waddle, 3 receptions, 114 and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 9 for 69 for a touchdown. I think it's pretty easy. You're going to be starting Mostert. You're going to be starting Waddle. You're going to be starting Hill. It's good to see Waddle come back after his injuries and playing, healthy and get a lot of yards. You want a little bit more volume, but you're going to take that production any day of the week. From the Bill side, obviously Josh Allen is a baller. 25 for 40, 304 yards, 4 TDs, 10 additional carries for 77 yards. So this guy's a beast. From their receiving, I want to talk about their running back core right now. James Cook coming alive. Although Singletary was 13 for 42, James Cook had 5 for 34. He also had 2 targets for 5 yards and a touchdown. So James Cook is starting to get utilized a little bit more in that backfield. So he's probably going to be a little bit too heavily added to be at the waiver wire. But if he is available in your league, grab that boy when you
really
can.
Playing him though, because Hines got a receiving touchdown as well. I can't fuck with that backup, man.
I mean,
that whole running back situation, I can't.
No, but it's playoff time, and the thing is that you want to be at least blocking other teams because say something does happen to Singletary, or say going into this week they say, oh, Cook is now named the starter. And I think he looks like the best player out there. And the fact that he could receive the ball and catch the ball so well, I think he has a lot of upside. So obviously I'm not comfortably starting him, but he's somebody that I would love to have on my team because week after week, he's giving a little bit more, push for this offense and giving a reason to be out on that field. So, and then, you got Stephon Diggs, a little bit of a slow game, 5 for 60 on 9 targets. Dawson Knox had a good tight end game, 6 receptions for 98 and a touchdown, but obviously we know that the tight end market is a little bit difficulty. So if you started Knox, good for you. And then as far as McKenzie and Gabe Davis, it's going to be tough to start those guys, but I feel like those are the players that you have to kind of work on if you're in the playoffs and you're this late. Like, that's where your tough decisions are going to be made, but I don't really feel comfortable starting those guys, especially in the fantasy playoffs.
So first things first, I'll address Sean. Fox goes from tight end to the back door, and it still hurts, he says. Not really sure what that reference is about. Those are the comments you say, no homo, or pause after you type them. With that being said, I'll talk to you about the things that matter. We'll go into this Dolphins and Buffalo game. I'm going to go back to Thursday again. On Thursday, I said that the Dolphins getting 7 points is disrespectful and that they could ultimately win the game outright. I said they will give the Bills an extremely difficult time. And I also told you that the Buffalo Bills might just win the last-minute field goal. And that's ultimately, to a T, exactly what took place. So if you listened up and you took the 7 points, congratulations. And if you found some weird way to bet the last score of the game, a field goal with less than 5 seconds left, you're probably a millionaire at this point. So make sure you tip me
or
if you did pull that out.
Or if you bet the over. I mean, that was an easy call. I think on paper the move was the under because of the weather conditions, but given, like I said, there was no weather conditions to start the game.
See, so I didn't touch over-under. I was a little nervous about that. But I did like the plus 7 points. I did take that. And the game kind of, again, went just like I thought it would. You know what I mean? It was just the Dolphins have proven. You can hate on them all you want, but they have proven that they can keep up with the Bills, not once when they won the first time in week 3 to go 3-0, but also now the second time on the road in poor weather conditions have showed that they can contend with the Bills. So as much as you want to look at records and go, oh, they had 3-game losing streak. They had 3-game losing streak when they lost 2. Eventually they have 6 losses now, and you're thinking, that's a wrap for them. You better believe they're going to sneak in the wild card, and they're going to be a force to reckon.
I agree. So moving on to Sunday, kind of an important matchup of 2 young quarterbacks of Jalen Hurts and the Chicago Bears. Eagles impressive win, 25-20. Let's do a little stats, I guess, before we talk about it. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a big issue. He had 22 for 37, 315 yards, no TDs, and 2 interceptions, yet he still puts up over 30 fantasy points. I don't know how you do it. I'll tell you how. 17 carries for 61 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and Miles Sanders comes back to life a little bit, 11 for 42. You've been starting him, and it's just a downtick, but you know that's possible to happen, especially with Hurts. And then A.J. Brown, obviously balling, 9 for 181. And
you don't see the stat line on that part, but he also fumbled. He finished with like less than 2 points in the fantasy realm. Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
I was up against him. Phew.
Yeah, nasty. And then also, but 16 targets for A.J. Brown. And then Devonta Smith, 8 targets, 5 catches, 126. My only concern with him, although he's came alive the last couple of weeks, is Dallas Goedert is getting healthy. And I feel like once Goddard comes back, he's going to get a lot of those targets that are going to Devonta Smith right now.
I think the biggest thing with this is... look, they just locked up the NFC East, and they don't have much to play for with the Vikings losing the week before last, and then, of course, Jags knocking off the Cowboys. They're virtually would need to lose all 3 games to even be in a position where they lose home field throughout. So it's going to be difficult with all those players considering circumstances, you know?
Yeah, and then on the Bears side, obviously Justin Fields just as big as a baller from a fantasy perspective.
He had one run that was so beautiful.
Oh my God, he stepped out of bounds too, and then the next play Hurts gets in for you. Like I hated that, dude. I was just like the worst, you know. That run was really sick, and he spin moved everybody. Bro. But Fields 14 for 21, 2 touchdowns, 15 carries for 95 yards. You love to see the volume with your feet. David Montgomery had himself a game, 12 carries for 53 and a touchdown.
I sat him for Mostert because Jeff Wilson
was out.
And I still got a lot of love from Mostert. But
yeah, Mostert was good. But yeah, Montgomery 3 for 38 and a TD.
Season.
Yeah, I think
2 TDs. He also caught a pass for a touchdown.
I kind of saw this. I started Fields over Dak in one of my leagues, and the reason is that these quarterbacks want to show out for each other, even though the teams aren't really fair. Like the Eagles are way better. The 13-1 Eagles versus the 3-11 Chicago. Like it was still competitive.
Bro, this is why I was like, bro. I said it on Thursday. I said I don't like the 9 points. Justin Fields, although he's more like a Kyler Murray, he's going up against Hurts. He wants to be in that same combo.
Yeah, he wants to be the.
So there's that edge almost, you know. That's why I didn't like the points at all. I hated him. I was like, I can't touch the 9 points. Can't do it.
Yes, is that someone at the door?
I don't know. It's okay.
Okay, and then yeah. So I mean, you're going to be starting Montgomery, especially with Herbert out, and then moving on to the next game. We had a divisional game, Falcons versus the Saints. The Saints won this game 21-18. A little bit of a boring, slow game, to be honest. Yeah, Desmond Ridder getting his start for the Atlanta, 13 for 26, 97 yards, boo-boo. Algier, 17 carries for 139 and a TD. Cordell Patterson, 14 carries for 52 yards and a TD. The problem is that both those guys are getting so much volume into committee, so it's really hard to kind of start one of those guys. Obviously, a very low offensive air attack, 97 yards. Drake London, 7 catches for 70 of them. Can't really start him. From the Saints side, Taysom Hill, he threw a touchdown. And Andy Dalton, 11 for 17 and 2 touchdowns. You're not really going to be starting him. Kamara, 21 carries for 91 yards. Not the production you want to see, but that's about it. And there's no one really I'm going to be starting from New Orleans. I think Chris Olave, the rookie receiver, is someone if you have to start him. But at this point of the year, with how low upside they are, I don't really want to have him out there. So I'm starting Kamara. Taysom Hill's trying to give a push for himself to get some starting. He had 7 carries for 30 yards and also threw that touchdown. But you just don't know what type of volume he's going to be getting at the quarterback and tight end position. So it's hard to trust him. Do you have anything you want to touch up on that game before we move on?
No, actually, I told you guys I want the under in that game all day. It was 43.5 points. I figured these teams just couldn't put up 10 points per quarter combined without Mariota especially. And obviously that game ended, I believe, 17-14? 21-18. So obviously we covered. It was 39 total. Hope y'all had a good time with that one.
Push.
No, it's 43.5.
Oh, 43.5. Oh, okay. Yeah, easy.
Under.
Easy. Okay. Next game, we have the Detroit Lions traveling to the New York Jets. Lions with a close victory, 20-17. Let's see. So Goff had 23 for 38 and 1 TD. Not the touchdown production you want to see from him, but they're competitive in these games, and they're trying to get into the playoff spot. So DeAndre Swift, 8 carries for 52 yards. Jamal Williams, 13 carries for 33 yards. He got stuffed on the goal line a couple times. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 for 76. I think, obviously, you're starting Amon-Ra. The question is, how do you feel about Swift and Williams? Do you feel comfortable starting Williams, or?
I said this for the past few weeks. If I'm starting any one of them, it's Williams. It's extremely similar to the Mostert and Wilson, where it's just like, damn, man. To which one you're going to choose. It's like, oh, Wilson, if he's healthy, for sure. In this case, he hasn't really been healthy, so it's been difficult. So when you talk about Williams and Swift, you're starting Williams, but you're just hoping that Swift maybe gets him down there, red zone comes, and Williams kind of does his thing. But Williams scored yet again, so I'd still be comfortable starting him. It's kind of like the Pollard and Zeke style story right now. It's like you can almost go. Look, you start Swift, you can go wrong. You start Williams, you can almost do no wrong.
I don't think he scored.
Jamal Williams had a receiving touchdown.
Receiving touchdown.
No,
that was Brock Wright. No.
Really?
Yeah. And then on the Jets side, Zach Wilson was under center.
That scored secretly?
No, Jameson Williams almost scored the touchdown.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, the rookie. They're taking shots at him, which is why we talked about him. But on the Jets,
I'm still feeling more comfortable with Williams.
Yeah, and then on the Jets side, Zonovan Knight, 13 carries for 23 yards. The only positive of that was that he got the bulk of carries over Michael Carter, who was back in this game. And then the rookie, Garrett Wilson, 4 for 98. He's an impressive rookie, and he's up there for Offensive Player Rookie of the Year. Yep. And that's really about it. And CJ Uzomah, 2 catches for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not really starting him. But
this game was a hard game to tell, man. I went back and forth. At one point, I was like, "I'll give me the 1.5 points." I talked about it on Thursday. I think Detroit is like legitimately making what it do. Chevy P, the Godfather is here.
What's up? What's up, P?
I think Detroit. I said it Thursday. I'll say it again. I secretly think Detroit's gonna make a run and get in the postseason because even their losses have been so close. The week 1 against the Eagles, 38-35. They were giving the Bills a hard time. These are all games that they've lost to really good teams by 1 possession games. And when they're supposed to win, like going against the Vikings that are 10-2, they're sitting at 6-7 and they're favored to win and they handle business. So watch out for the Lions, man.
Yeah,
Look at their upcoming schedule. They might fuck around and sneak in the postseason, man.
Yeah, so Lions and Jets are going to be really good teams next year. I think the Jets are just 1 quarterback away from having a really good team, and I think Goff is capable to lead this team next year. Not saying that they're going to win a Super Bowl, but I think next year they're going to be a lot better, well-rounded off teams.
I think they just need a safety or a DB that's like shut down with was it Sly? What's the
Slay.
Slay? If they can get one other cornerback or really like a strong safety that can really, because if you watch the Lions play this year, they have distinctively taken out the number one player on every single team. You see the matchup on the Lions, and it's always like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to start so and so. And they shut them down. They've shut down players like Barkley. They've shut down some elite players this year where you've just been like, damn, when you thought you had a perfect matchup. I think Aaron Jones, like they're doing good, bro. I'm just watch out for the Detroit Lions, man. That's all I got to say.
All right, so next game we have your Steelers going to Carolina, pulling out the win with the backup quarterback, 24-16. Just some quick stats, I guess. Najee Harris, 24 for 86 and a touchdown. Jalen Warden, 11 for 38 for a touchdown. Obviously starting Najee over the two. Mitch Trubisky runs one in, but I don't think he's going to be there next week, so it's going to be hard to move forward with this production. Deontay Johnson, 10 catches for 98, and Pickens, 2 for 53. I think and then on the Carolina side, Sam Darnold had a good game for himself as far as game managing, 14 for 23, 1 TD. And then that's about it. And then DJ Moore, 5 for 73 and a touchdown. If you got to start him, he's been playing good this back half of the year. And then as far as the running backs go, this is why you can't really trust Deontay Foreman, who has 10 carries for 9 yards, and Chuba Hubbard has 4 carries for 10 yards. So he has that high upside when they give him 30 carries and he's balling, but it's hard to trust him week in and week out because of these performances. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic on to you to talk a little bit about your Steelers.
Yeah, man, look, I was a little leery. I liked getting the points. I said to you guys on Thursday, look, even if it comes down to Mitch being named the starter, I still think my team could win outright. However, I wanted to kind of get a feel for it to determine if, Mason Rudolph was splitting, first team snaps with Mitch. And, 2 concussions in a short time span for a rookie QB, you're probably going to bench him. With the line, I told you guys it made sense that they thought Mitch was starting. But this game went exactly how I thought it would. Mitch came in, tried to be the hero, threw 3 red zone interceptions last week. He dialed it all the way back down. The Steelers' defense was finally getting in there and causing some sacks. I think they had 4 or 5 sacks on the day, so that was huge. Ultimately, they kind of dominated this game, and ironically, it was a very similar game that Pickett does. You have no turnovers, no fumbles as a quarterback, no interceptions as a quarterback. We're not asking for much. Our defense is going to put us in decent positions. Boswell made his kicks when it counted. Look, man, this is exactly the game I thought we would play. It's exactly a win that we needed. We still have a backdoor playoff run within our belt. We get to host the Raiders, or we get to play the Raiders next week, and we'll see. Loser of that game is eliminated mathematically, so there's a lot to play for on both parties. That's it, man. I'm excited for next week, bro.
Okay, awesome. And now we're going to move on to another entertaining, high-scoring game of the Cowboys and the Jaguars. Jaguars won in overtime, 40-34. So let's real quick go over a couple stats. From the Jaguar side, Trevor Lawrence, 27 for 42, 4 TDs and 1 interception. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, and he's going to be a quarterback for years to come. Travis Etienne, 19 carries for 103 yards. It's unfortunate he doesn't get in the end zone. But Zay Jones, someone we've been talking about, 6 receptions for 109 and 3 touchdowns. Christian Kirk still had 6 receptions for 92, which is nice from PPR. And Evan Ingram, if you started him, 8 catches for 62 in a PPR league. Yeah, so I think at this point you got to start ETN. You got to start. I don't want to say you got to start Ingram, but if you have them and you're searching for tight ends, you got to throw them out there. And
this
then
is like 2 weeks in a row, bro. He's putting up either 10 catches or 100 yards from scrimmage.
I think it's just a little tough to pick between Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. So
I still am a fan of Zay Jones. I told you guys on the waiver wire that I prefer him. He has extremely good chemistry, and I think it's primarily because Kirk is the one that gets most of the attention from defenses. And I really am a fan of those slot WR2s on teams like the Jags who are playing from behind, because as a quarterback, you're going to always look to the person who's one-on-one coverage when you're a young up-and-coming quarterback. And I think that's ultimately what Zay's doing. He had 3 touchdowns last week. I told you guys about him a few weeks ago. Last week, it was the game he had 10 catches on 11 targets, bro. It was like anyone who's getting that in the NFL, you pick them up, you stash them on your bench, and you see where it goes. And this is a clear sign that this guy is becoming must start as a flex. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
ultimately carving out that role with those targets. You know, that's what you look for.
I just think it's a little bit of a gamble between him
It
and
is.
Kirk. Like, you don't know who's going to fall into the end zone.
is.
They're both getting targets. I mean, Christian Kirk did get a lot of targets, so that's good to see. And on the Dallas side, Tony Pollard, 19 for 75. Zeke, 16 for 58 with the touchdown. As far as the receivers go, CD Lamb, 7 for 126.
Beast.
And then you had Noah Brown catching 2 touchdowns on 6 receptions. Tony Pollard also had 4 for 31, so he did get a little
Every
passing
time
work.
Brown got in there, I was like, let's go. I thought it was CeeDee Lamb for a split second. You see one part of the 8 on the jersey. They both got the dreads hanging out the helmet. I got excited every time. I've been talking about Noah Brown for a long time when Gallup was out. This young guy is carving a name. I promise you guys right now, Noah Brown, if you guys have those like keeper leagues and things of that nature and you got an opportunity to hold a player like that, bro, he's only going to carve a bigger role for the Cowboys. I'm telling you right now, this guy's a stud.
Yeah,
A
he's
stud.
a good player. I mean, yeah, Dak 23 for 30, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If you have to start him, you're going to have to start him, right? If you got Hurts or you got people, you got to throw him out there. But,
Yep.
you know, this was good because of the volume and the high scoring, but he hasn't been able to produce at a high level week after week. So
I mean,
just
look,
be a little careful when you're starting Dak.
I mean, look, here's the situation. If you're starting Dak, it's because you have to at this point.
He didn't get you here, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't get you here missing that amount of games. But I think you could start it with confidence considering that the Cowboys still have a lot to play for. It's very similar to the Brock Purdy situation. You have a phenomenal defense, even though they gave up 40 to the Jags, that are turnover machines that should put you in a good opportunity to get a lot of red zone attempts. And as long as both Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, it's not first and goal from the 2 or first and goal from the 3, you'll at least get one attempt to either tight end Schultz, which is a must start in this tight end world, CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, even sometimes Zeke or Pollard out the backfield. So, or shit, even a run by him. So it's not a bad thing, man. This game was crazy, bro, because again, if you watch Thursday's episode, I said to myself, so me and Issa both had this Cowboys in a play. I teased them down to 2.5 where I was getting 2.5 points. And I straight up was like, this game bothers me. This spread makes no sense. Like how? 4.5? If I'm taking the Jags, I'm only getting 4.5? I didn't like this shit at all. And what happened? The Cowboys were dominating all game. All game. Until the very end, where the Jags somehow forced OT. And then sure enough, one of the picks ended up hitting a helmet and getting popped up in overtime and getting taken to the house. Wasn't even Dak's fault. So rough one, man, if you're a Cowboys fan. I'm pissed off because if you guys would have won, that would have forced the Eagles' hand to try and win that conference by facing them next week. And it would have been the ultimate setup for us. But unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Yeah, and like you said, you're obviously starting CeeDee Lamb, you're starting Pollard, you're starting Zeke,
Gotcha.
you're starting Schultz. Moving forward, we had the Chiefs versus the Texans. Another overtime game. The Chiefs won 30-24. Mahomes, well, I don't have to talk about Mahomes too often. He's a baller, 36 for 41, 2 touchdowns. As far as the backfield goes, Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries for 86 yards, but Jerick McKinnon was the story, having 10 carries, 52 yards, a touchdown. And then on the receiving side, he had 8 catches for 70 yards and another touchdown. So he's been the number 1 RB the last 2 weeks, and I think he's going to play a lot of snaps. And obviously they're going to want to rush the ball with Pacheco through the tackles, but I think McKinnon has shown that he has the high upside. And I started Pacheco in a couple leagues and a little disappointed in that performance. Travis Kelce, 10 for 105 on 10 targets, and Juju Smith-Schuster, 10 for 88 on 10 targets. So like to see the volume. I think I'm kind of starting those guys out there. Juju was forced in my lineup just for some injuries and whatnot. So I think he has better games. I don't think his floor is much lower than where it is. Like maybe 5 for 50 is probably going to be his floor. But I see he's been having these types of games, like 10 catches for 80, 90 yards, like a lot. So
In playoff time, you'll take that because if he falls in the end zone,
yeah, he gets like 2. Yeah, exactly. And then on the Texan side, no one really to talk about, I guess. Chris Moore, 4 for 42. But, yeah, I mean, the only chance of a story here was Jeff Driscoll possibly getting more touches as a tight end and QB. But he only had 2 attempts, and he he didn't really rush. He had 4 carries on 8 yards. You can't really start that. So maybe if there's an injury to Davis Mills or something happens that he could actually be a story in this playoffs, meaning you could slot him in tight end as a quarterback. But as of right now, you can't really comfortably start him.
So this game was extremely fishy to me. I knew it right away. 14 points was massive. I screamed from the rooftops that I'm uncomfortable, but I'm telling you right now, I'm taking the Texans plus the 2 touchdowns for a total of 14 points. Partly because, Sick as Full always brings up the Chiefs, and I mentioned this on Thursday, that they win, but they never cover the spread.
The Chiefs never cover the spread.
Never cover the spread.
Never.
So I took the 14 points. I was happy with it. Ultimately, the fact that they even got forced into OT, and then ultimately, bro, Texans were driving the ball right around midfield, and they just needed a field goal after making the Chiefs punt. And it turned out Mills ended up fumbling the ball where the Chiefs got it, but craziest thing about it is they didn't get it. In fact, the Texans were on the ground with the ball, but when the pile-up happened, that's when the Chief ultimately pulled the ball from them. And because the way, fumbles work in the National Football League, once they uncover the pile, whoever's got the ball. So if you're gouging eyes or pinching or pushing or pulling, whatever you got to do to get that ball out, apparently, it worked. And that put the Chiefs in a position where Jerick McKinnon made it happen. That was his longest rush of the day on both teams, where he ended up breaking off that 40-yard run or whatever it was to end up scoring that TD for the game winner, walk-off.
All right, and as we move to the 1 o'clock games, full disclosure, okay? I was at the Chargers game getting super litty, so I didn't watch much of the games. And to be honest with you, I barely even watched the Charger game, and I was there. So well, just wanted to throw that out there, so we could go over the games because I need to recap a little bit myself, actually. So Cardinals Broncos. Backup quarterback game, not a good game on paper.
No playoff contention for each team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll start with Denver. Brett Rypien at center, 21 for 26, 1 TD, 1 interception. Latavius Murray, 24 carries for 130 yards and 1 TD. He might be able to give you some value in this stretch run, especially if they're going to continue to name Rypien the starter, and then they lean on the run game. So he could be a high-volume play, but we know how low his floor is as well, too. He could give you, 15 carries for 40 yards and no catches or anything like that. Jerry Jeudy, 7 for 76, which is a good sign, especially with signing out. I think you're going to kind of roll him. You don't like that, but I think he's kind of trending upward as someone who's going to be more, as a WR2 flex. And then Dulcich, 1 for 11, not something you want to see from that side. And then from the Cardinals game, James Conner, 16 for 63 in a touchdown, and then DeAndre Hopkins, 7 for 60. I have Hopkins and Conner on my team, and I decided to bench Hopkins just because of the uncertainty of the quarterback situation, and I'm looking for a lot of checkdowns to the running back as opposed to scoring a lot of touchdowns from, throwing the ball in the air. So what happens? Did Colt McCoy get hurt, or Trace McSorley was in there getting some work too?
Yeah, he went down at one point. I think it was more of coach's decision because they just weren't moving the ball, to be quite honest with you. I told you guys on this game, man, whoever's getting points, I'm rolling with them. And because Denver was getting points and they seem to have the better defense, I felt more comfortable rolling with the Broncos. I had James Conner. I was very, very happy with the touchdown he scored late because that offense was sluggish beyond belief. But a 4-10 team or a 3-10 team at the time, playing another 3-10 team or whatever it was, 3-9 team at the time, 4-9 team. No playoff contention. Definitely a snooze fest. And, we can move on from that game, man.
All right, next game, Patriots and Raiders. Crazy ending to the game. The Raiders won 30-26 on a last-second lateral play that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Sure. I'm actually going to start off by saying I am so glad I did not watch this game because I benched Ramondre Stevenson, and then you just watch him ball out, and that's going to be the difference of why I lose to you.
Every time he scored, bro, I had to double check and look because I remembered you had Stevenson. I don't know if you know this or not, bro. When the games kicked off, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard, it was such a delay on Yahoo Sports that it showed I still had Elliott, my kicker, in. And I'm like, no, I got Mason Crosby. And I was so petrified the whole time. And I thought maybe that could happen with you and Stevenson at one point, because that's why I was so nervous to keep checking. Like, wait, let me look at his team. It was nerve-wracking. Yahoo Fantasy Sports, you need to get that shit straight because that was awful. And you guys are way better than that.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm going to say, well, let's give you a stat line real quick. 19 carries for 172 yards and a touchdown, plus 2 catches for -4 yards. I think the way that this week was kind of set up, he was injured, he was not practicing, then he got some limited work in. But I think the key sign was the fact that they didn't elevate any additional running backs, which kind of was saying that he's going to go out there, he's going to play.
But you know what? I don't know either, because if you look, their rookie
Pierre Strong, he's a baller.
He had like 2 carries for like 50 yards in a tug last
week.
So it was,
that's what I'm saying.
Bro,
that's why he's so
this
hard
late
to
in
like.
the season, he might have played all 3 of them, or if Stevenson came in and maybe only was on a snap count. So I honestly couldn't even fault you for not playing him. Hindsight's 2020.
I mean, next week you're starting him, right? Yeah. That's what I was telling.
Yes.
Like I was telling Jay, like if he wasn't hurt, like he's going to be started. You know, even if he has a bad game, or because they do that, they spread the ball around, someone else vultures him. That's fine. But I've been rolling with him. He's the reason why I got to the playoffs. So I'm going to roll with my guy. You know,
there was one stat as you say this. Last week I told you guys, man, don't get too cute. Roll with the people that got you there, right? And there's a stat that I saw with Stevenson. He was the only other running back this year to have 50 receptions and 700 plus rushing yards. The only other running back was, who do you think?
Christian McCaffrey?
Of course.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, it's like, fuck, how do you sit a player like that? But again,
it's
knowing
injury.
Belichick.
I think the injury.
And the injury on top. That's what I'm saying. If he's not injured, of course.
Easy.
But even knowing Belichick, when you have an injured player, dude, you can have players that are not injured. And he just decides, oh, you know what, let me see if this guy, Pierre Strong, is good enough. Maybe I'll play him and see if he's worth keeping on the team for next year. You know, you just never know, bro. So I don't fault you for that sit. I'm happy you did, but I don't fault you for it.
And on the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs, 22 carries for 93 yards, no touchdown. Darren Waller makes his return, 3 catches for 48 yards, gets in the end zone. So that's nice to see if you have him. Devontae Adams, a little bit of a slow game, 4 for 28, no touchdown, but you're rolling him out there. You're starting Josh Jacobs, you're starting Devontae Adams, and after Waller gets back and in the end zone with how weak the tight end position is, I'm starting him next week too. It's good.
No problem.
Good to have him back. Moving on to the Titans and the Chargers. This is a game I was at that I didn't watch because I was having so much fun. I was getting really litty, I'm not going to lie. Derrick Henry, 21 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry also 4 receptions for 59 yards. That's good to see. And then on the Chargers side, Justin Herbert, 28 for 42, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Austin Eckler, 12 carries for 58 yards, a touchdown. Did get vultured for a touchdown by Joshua Kelly. And then Keenan Allen, 8 for 86. Mike Williams, 4 for 67. Gerald Everett, 4 for 42. On a day that Justin Herbert doesn't throw any touchdowns, I think it's kind of fluky, to be honest. They won that game, and I don't see this much low. I guess the Titans are kind of hurting, and they just need to scrape it out. One thing I do want to mention, though, so since I was in Vegas, I put down a bet on the Chargers to win the Super Bowl, 30-1. So
it's great odds. I mean, they're getting healthy at the right time.
I mean, look, I won money in Vegas, so I was like, I'm just gonna free roll, right? Yeah. So I threw 500 on it to win 15 racks. And I mean, I don't feel confident that it's gonna hit, but this is the reason why. So O-line is a little banged up, but getting better.
Wasted money.
I mean, it is.
What
but
do you do, J-Bo?
J-Bo, hear me out. Offense is good, right? They have great quarterback, great receivers. They could score with anybody, and they could score on any defense. Now, their secondary is really good. You know, their secondary does not give up a lot of yards through the air. Derwin James, best safety in the league, could do it all. Now, their weakness is their defensive line and basically getting run on through the interior. So that's their biggest weakness. And when you plug Bosa back into this lineup, I think he could be a difference. He's proven that he's.
So we've been saying this for like 6 weeks. Do we have a timeline of when Bosa returns?
I mean, I'm gonna guess by playoffs. It's supposed to be like a 4 to 8 week injury. Now he's on 9-10 weeks. Yeah, 10 weeks now. So I don't mind it. You know, as long as they're winning games. And then one thing I looked at, they're actually not in the playoffs, but I go ahead and look at their schedule, and I was like, okay, they could beat the Titans. And then next week they have the Colts on the road on a Monday Night Football. They could win that game. And then the following week they have the Rams at home. They should win that game. And the following weeks they're going traveling to the Broncos. So they could easily win all 4 of those games and get into the playoffs, get their defense healthy, and make a little run at the end of the year.
This game was predictable for me, man. I mean, I looked at it from this standpoint. The Titans, unless they get a lead, it's very difficult for them to stay in games. And I felt like the Chargers are finally getting healthy at the right time. It just made a lot of sense to me that they'd win. I told you guys to money line this one because I didn't feel comfortable with giving the 3 points. I guess you would have probably pushed, or it might even been 3.5 actually, and that's why I decided to take money line on it. If you listened, man, good shit yet again.
Yeah, I took him at -3.
Was it 3, right?
It was -3. It was 3.5, and then it moved down to 3 before the game started.
Okay, see, that makes sense.
I like the over, given the fact that the Chargers defense is a little sketchy, and I thought Derrick Henry could run, but overall, just kind of an ugly game. Moving forward, we had the Bengals versus the Bucks, 34-23. Again, I was at the game, so I wasn't really able to watch it. So we're gonna go over the box score. I know Mixon 11 carries for 21 yards. Jamar Chase 7 for 60, a touchdown. T. Higgins 5 for 33 and a touchdown. Joe Burrow 27 for 39, 4 touchdowns. It's nice to see. On the Bucs side, a little bit of committee on the running back situation. Fournette 10 for 44, Rachaad White 11 for 38, and neither one of them get in. And then as the receivers, Chris Godwin 8 for 83 of the touchdown, Mike Evans 5 for 83, no touchdown. Russell Gage had 2 touchdowns, so I don't think you're really starting him. But I think moving forward, Godwin must start, Evans must start, and then you're kind of in a predicament between Fournette and White. And I did not start White this week. And then from the Bengals, obviously you're starting Mixon, you're starting Burrow, you're starting Chase, and you're starting T. Higgins.
This game was weird, man. The Bucs came out hot.
They had to.
At one point it was 14-3 or something like that. What was the box score? Yeah,
17-0. Yeah, 17-0 at one point.
And it just seemed like, what's going on? And there was a huge turning point. The Bengals marching down the field, they scored. They scored again, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, they're on a drive to maybe take the lead. And on 4th and 4, a little bit out of field goal range, they go for it. I've never seen this. I can't say I've never seen this, but I hadn't seen this in a long time from someone that they consider to be the top 5 QBs in the league, and that was Burrow. On 4th and 4, he's scrambling, running for his life. Takes a 30-yard sack, and they get defensive holding. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down. And as soon as that happened, I said, oh yeah, see, the Bucs can lose this game, and they're still in a position to make the playoffs due to their division being so god-awful.
Yeah, their division's trash.
But the Bengals can't afford to lose this game because there's too many AFC teams that are fighting for it, and the tide just turned. That momentum was huge, and it completely deflated the Bucs. And at that moment in time, the Bengals took off and never looked back, but it was also in part to the turnovers. 4 turnovers in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
Picks from Brady, fumbles. I mean, it was disgusting. And you know me, I'm going against you and Mixon. And every time there's a turnover, bro, they're back in the red zone just like that. And I'm just dodging bullet after bullet after bullet, bro.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals are coming into form. They started off the year slow, 0-2, and now they're 10-4. So they've been 8-2 over the last 10 games.
Too, you know, they got healthy like the Chargers at the right time. Chase was gone for a while.
I mean, they're the AFC champions from last year, so and Burrow's a good quarterback. So the last game, which was a Sunday night football game, divisional game, Giants traveled to Washington after they tied in their last game. Giants winning this game 20-12. We'll check out the box score. Saquon Barkley, 18 for 87 and a touchdown.
Doesn't really show you what he was doing though. The last 4th quarter, bro, I think he got 40-some-odd yards of that.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5 catches for 33 yards too, so you're obviously starting him.
Oh, yeah.
From the Commanders side, a little bit of a split from the running backs. Brian Robinson, 12 for 89, and then Gibson, 5 for 21. As far as the receivers go, Jahan Dotson, 4 for 105 with the touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 6 for 70. A little disappointing of a game, but you're kind of rolling him out there, but you know that this is his potential, and you know that this is like the low upside that they have on there. But as far as the Giants go, I'm only really starting Barkley. As far as the Commanders go, I'm only comfortably starting McLaurin. I'm actually not really starting him if I have better options. Someone I'll throw out there is kind of like Juju. You know, like who do you start, Juju or McLaurin? Like,
based upon the quarterback play alone, you pick Juju.
Yeah, but as far as like skill set, like focal point of the offense, like they're locked in on him. He's kind of more like a DeAndre Hopkins, I would say. Not saying that he's as good as DeAndre Hopkins,
No,
but
I
kind
feel
of
you.
like in that system where he's your best player. Just close your eyes, throw the ball, and luckily their quarterback doesn't mind peppering them with targets, and they don't care if they get picked and stuff like that. So
Right.
that's like the upside of having those players. But
You knew the loser of this team was out. They tied before the bye week, so in a sense, the Giants played them twice in a row. And it was kind of like an extension of that overtime game. First time around, I told you guys, whoever's getting points, I'm taking the points. So we were right because even though it was a tie, when you get points and a tie happens, you win. This game, I was all over it. On Thursday, I told you guys, money line the Giants. I told you guys, take the Giants plus the 4.5. I also told you guys under, flat out under. Now, I took a couple things on my own. I took the Giants to score more than 7.5 in the first half, booked it. I also took a weird-ass opposite side of it where the Washington Commanders would score less than 10.5 points, booked that also. Giants is, even on the road, man, I think they're a better team than the Washington Commanders at this point. I think that proved
yeah, I
to
mean,
be true.
yeah, overall ugly game, ugly division. That's the Eagles and Dallas division, though, so I don't think they're going to make too much noise. All right.
Let's preview tonight's
That's-
game, man.
Yeah, who do you like?
So, I got one for you guys. You know I like those first half ones. I was looking at the lines. I booked in 2 plays. One play I booked was the Packers minus 2.5 in the first quarter. It was minus a half at one point. By the time I pushed it through, it was 2.5. First quarter only. Packers minus 2.5. I don't care if they're kicking off or if they're receiving. I think that they will score on their first series because Aaron Rodgers does this quite frequently when you come off of a bye week. They have the exact play calling. No matter what, they can't be down by more than 1 score, so their entire drive is mapped out. And when you're talking about Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, that combo alone, I do feel like they're going to come down there and march a touchdown for their first drive. Again, whether they kick off or not, to start the game. So I'm hoping they hold the Rams to a field goal or nothing in that first quarter or that first series. And I hope that they come out and get that first touchdown to put the pressure on. And again, if you can get a 7-0 lead, you're looking real good because that first quarter runs out a lot of times before the second quarter, before you score running into that second quarter. So that's my first line. I like the Packers minus 2.5 in the first quarter, but my line I like a lot that I went a little heavier on is the Packers to score more than 12.5 points. Same theory applies, but I can get 2 touchdowns. I can get a touchdown and 2 field goals, and I still cover. When it was 13, I didn't like it. 12.5, I liked it, so I booked it. Packers to score more than 12.5 points against the Rams tonight.
Yeah, and I'm going on the other side. I'm focusing on the Rams. My goal is to fade Baker Mayfield. I think the hype is gone.
my
So
goal.
that's my goal. I'm betting against just Baker. I do not see them getting more than 2 touchdowns in this entire game. So I'm betting the LA Rams team total under 14.5 points. 2 touchdowns, nothing more. I even see 1 touchdown and like 2 field goals, not even getting in the end zone more than once. So I'm riding the under of 14.5 by just the Rams.
And that's the whole game.
That's the whole game.
So I'm a little bugged out. Baker Mayfield gets picked up from the Rams, and he's like, I'm home. You know, this kid loves LA. It's where he's from. Somewhere in Cali at some point, apparently, for him to consider it home, you know. Sometimes you look at things from an overall perspective, and I go, when he was a Cleveland Brown, that's not the New York Giants or Jets. That's not the Los Angeles, Chargers, or that's not even the Vegas. I'm talking about where marketing is huge, right? And somehow as a Cleveland Brown, you could not watch football without seeing this guy on commercials after commercial after commercial, like as if he's like the next up-and-coming actor. And I got to give credit to Baker. As much as I don't like him on the field in a sense, and his play is very sporadic and hit or miss, his commercials are low-key kind of funny at times,
Yeah, they're
bro.
catchy when he like lives in the stadium and
Yeah, bro,
stuff.
he lives in
Like,
a stadium. He's like, he just does witty shit. And again, I'm not saying it's him. Maybe the writing team was awesome. Maybe the producer and director just knew what they wanted. Maybe he did have a little bit to say in it, and maybe that's why he gets so much buzz. But the fact that he's in LA and he's considering it home, and he was already in front of my face every single time I watch a football game, I'm like, damn. And then the way they kind of piece up this movie magic for him to come back against the Raiders and a 98-yard drive, I'm a little fishy about shit like that. I'm a little fishy. Now, if you think about this real quick, Aaron Rodgers used to be that guy. State Farm, discount, double check, even in the Washington area, right? Winning a ring. And he used to be that guy, and then all of a sudden the narrative switched when he talked about not wanting to vaccinate. Soon as he said, I'm not vaccinating, he got a lot of flack from a lot of different sides and always had to defend himself. And ironically, his team can't do shit all year. And so that's the only reason I'm not touching the overall game. Not yet. I want to see how the first half goes, see if I can get a more favorable spread than the 7 points I got to give as a Packer, or the 7 points I got to take as a Ram. So I'm hoping to make a live bet or wait till halftime, see how it's going, take a second half bet. But I can see some funny shit happening where Baker Mayfield, they're just going to make the Rams look like God amongst men to end the season, and all of a sudden there's a chance that Stafford might not play again and retires after winning his ring and not finishing the year, and Baker all of a sudden is the franchise QB. I could just see weird shit like that happening, and I feel like it's easy for them to kind of control the narrative. So I'm a little bit funky side-eye looking at this game.
You're going deep down the conspiracy rabbit hole if you're saying like vaccinations.
That's what he was saying.
No, I hear you. I like what you said, but specifically if the Rams go down, I'm not going to fire them second half more than what the original spread is. But if the Packers,
what happened in the Raider game? They were down by 3 scores.
But the Raiders got nothing to play for, or they did have some. They had something to play for.
Of course they do.
Not anymore. The Raiders are the Raiders. They're just like
that
was the game where we were like riding them because of their momentum and they played well the week before. So that, but they're not that good, and so. Now
that Waller came back before then, bro, they went 3 games in a row and beat teams like the Chargers on the at home.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there was overtime win after overtime win. Again, it's a fluky team, those Raiders. That's why I took first half. I don't trust them in the second half. Which, again, if you would have rocked with the same theory this week, you would have won again because that first half they were up by 3 scores yet again.
But listen, it's just hard to win in Green Bay, and I think the only chance they have is if they get a lead and then they try to hold on. But if they fall down a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, I don't see them making a comeback realistically.
I think it's just the way the games have been going. I mean, every game that's the only game on, even if it doesn't come back and win the game, they're making them close. And I'm not saying they like it's some conspiracy theory shit. I'm just saying this much. I think this game's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for the Packers, but I do think the Packers get off to a really strong start, and I will assess what makes sense, whether it's the over, team under, team over, taking points, giving points, depending on how it gets chopped up in that second half. But my lock is 12.5 Packers all day.
All right, so we got 15 minutes before the game starts, so it was nice to be out here with y'all. It's your boy, Sick as Fool.
It's your boy, I Am Ghost, of course. Hey, do me a favor, you guys. If you guys like me, and you're my friend and you consider me a friend, make sure that Aaron Jones and Mason Crosby put up more than 14 points combined so I can move on. Otherwise, my co-host gets the dub and he gets to go play one of the homies in this league. And this is the semifinals next week, you guys. I need this.
Oh, I know what to do. I got it.
Here comes the reverse jinx.
Here comes the reverse jinx, dude. I'm just gonna call the game.
Good game.
Good game, exactly. I'm just gonna take the loss right now. I'm just gonna say good game.
Hey, don't forget
you won this one. You're moving on. Good job.
Don't forget, you guys, like, subscribe. Most importantly, hit the notification, hit the bell. This will alert you when we go live and when we post shorts. Do me a favor, jump on both of our channels on YouTube, Sick as Fool and mine. You will see our newest short that we posted, which we do preview the games we just went over today. It's our primetime post that we always do. Check us out. It's been awesome talking to you. Shout out to Crypto Mike, man. Big 40. Happy birthday, bro. It's nice to see you.
Happy birthday.
You're in Costa Rica right now, man. You still tuning in, man. That's the love we got, man. I appreciate you to the fullest.
Yeah, I appreciate all you guys. Remember, like, subscribe, all that. Just hit the button, man. Just 1 second. Click it. Click.
On all platforms.
All of it.
Deuces.